justice, only questions hanging in the air like smoke. This is one of those stories. A young woman, a bungalow on a quiet street, and a night that should never have happened. Her name was Juliana Reding. She was 21 years old, and she had no idea that the life she was building was about to be taken from her. Every many-year great city has a graveyard of dreams. Los Angeles is no different. For decades, young men and women have packed their bags, kissed their families goodbye, and driven toward that glittering skyline, convinced that this time the city would be kind. Juliana Reding was one of them. She grew up in Tucson, Arizona, a quiet Catholic upbringing, a close family, a mother named Patricia and a father named Greg who loved her deeply. She was ambitious, creative, full of a rare kind of stubborn optimism that makes people magnetic. She once told her parents she dreamed of opening her own boutique someday, of building something with her own hands, her own vision, her own name on the door. And in 2005, she packed up and moved to Santa Monica. By 2008, she was enrolled at Santa Monica College. She was modeling. She was auditioning. She was waiting tables to keep the lights on, the way so many dreamers do. She called her mother regularly. She texted updates. She visited home whenever she could. From the outside, her life looked like the beginning of something beautiful. But there are people in this world who see beauty and decide to destroy it. In 2007, Juliana took a job at a restaurant. It was supposed to be temporary, just something to fill the gaps between auditions. That's where she met him. His name was Munir Uweda, a physician, well-dressed, wealthy, charming in the way that only dangerous people can be. He offered her a job as his personal assistant. She accepted. What followed was the kind of relationship that feels like a fairy tale, until you realize you're trapped inside it. Munir was generous, lavish even. He moved Juliana into his Beverly Hills home. He showered her with attention and gifts. He spoke about the future, marriage, a life together. She believed him. She shouldn't have, because slowly, the way these things always go, the mask began to slip. Munir grew possessive, obsessive, controlling. He didn't want a partner. He wanted ownership. And then came the truth that shattered everything. Munir wasn't available. He wasn't free. He wasn't even honest. He had a wife, 3 children, a hidden life tucked away in Lebanon, far from the woman he had been manipulating. Juliana ended it immediately. She walked away, which was, perhaps, the bravest thing she ever did, and possibly the thing that sealed her fate. March 15th, 2008, a Saturday. Juliana spent the afternoon on a golf course, relaxed, unhurried. She came home as the sun went down. That evening, she settled into her bungalow. She made herself comfortable. She put on reruns of Seinfeld, laughter from the television, the ordinary quiet of a normal night. She had no idea she was being watched, no idea that someone had already made a decision about her life, no idea that before the next morning, her world would be gone. The following day, March 16th, her mother, Patricia, tried to call. No answer. She tried again. Silence. Her neighbors hadn't seen her. Her dog was inside, alone. But the house was quiet. Too quiet. By 6 in the evening, Patricia's unease had turned into terror. She called the police. She asked them to check on her daughter. She told herself everything would be fine. She was wrong. The officers arrived at the bungalow. Juliana's car was parked outside. Everything looked normal. Everything looked exactly like it should, until they stepped inside. The smell hit them first. Natural gas, thick, overwhelming, hanging in the air like a held breath. Near the entrance, a candle was burning, and on the stove, the burners had been turned on, deliberately, without being lit. The entire bungalow had been converted into a bomb. Whoever had been there last had intended to erase everything. The evidence, the house, the truth. But something went wrong with their plan. The older construction of the bungalow, the gaps in the walls, the imperfect seals, had let just enough gas escape that the concentration never reached the ignition point. The explosion never came. And so, the evidence survived. In the back bedroom, they found her. Juliana Reding, 21 years old. She had been strangled. The room told the story of what had happened. Furniture overturned, signs of a desperate, violent struggle. She had fought. God, she had fought. Her own DNA was found beneath her fingernails. Evidence that she had clawed at whatever was killing her, fighting to breathe, fighting to live until the very last second. And then came the detail that breaks your heart completely. Phone records showed that sometime during the attack, Juliana had managed to dial 911. The call never connected. It dropped before anyone could answer. She had tried to call for help, and the line went dead. Investigative now, methodical, like a detective laying out evidence on a table. The investigation moved quickly, and then hit a wall. The first person of interest was Juliana's on-and-off boyfriend, John Gilmore. He had a history with her. Arguments, violent outbursts. He had once kicked in her car door, broken into her home. When detectives brought him in, he admitted they had argued the night before her death. But here's where it got strange. Surveillance cameras placed him at a jack-in-the-box between 9:45 and 10:15 p.m., right when the attack occurred. Witnesses confirmed he was at a house party. And then the lab results came back. The majority of DNA found at the crime scene belonged to a woman. John Gilmore was cleared. The investigation turned to a different name, Munir Uweda, the man Juliana had left, the man with the hidden family, the man who had, allegedly, never accepted that she walked away. Investigators learned that after their breakup, a business deal between Munir and Juliana's father had also collapsed. That was the final fracture. And 1 week after that deal fell apart, Juliana was dead. Munir left the United States shortly after her murder. He flew to Lebanon, and he did not come back. Like revealing something monstrous hiding in plain sight. But Munir couldn't have acted alone from across an ocean. So detectives started pulling at threads, and one name kept appearing. Kelly Soup, 47 years old, a woman with a long, complicated history with Munir Uweda. He had transferred over $1 million to her across 18 months. Witnesses described her as someone who handled things for him, someone you called when you needed a problem solved. Investigators placed her under surveillance. They watched. They waited. And then they got their evidence. A discarded cigarette. They retrieved it. They sent it to the lab. The DNA matched. Kelly Soup's DNA was found on Juliana's clothing, on the front door, on the locks, on the phone, and on Juliana's throat. She was arrested, charged with second-degree murder. For a moment, it felt like the case was finally cracking open, like justice, slow and painful as it had been, might actually arrive. It didn't. The trial was long. Prosecutors laid out what they believed happened, that Munir had hired Kelly Soup to go to that bungalow, that the plan was intimidation, that it escalated into something far worse. But the judge ruled there wasn't enough direct evidence for the murder-for-hire theory. The prosecution was left with only the physical evidence. The defense had a counter, secondary DNA transfer. They argued that Kelly Soup's DNA could have moved indirectly through shared items at Munir's home, through contact with objects Juliana also touched. No eyewitnesses, no confession, no smoking gun. Reasonable doubt. In 2013, Kelly Soup was found not guilty. The courtroom erupted. And just like that, no one was held responsible for the murder of Juliana Reding. Munir remained in Lebanon. No extradition treaty, no charges, no accountability. He was briefly arrested in Germany in 2015 on medical fraud charges. He returned to Lebanon. He maintains his innocence. Patricia Reding, Juliana's mother, still paints in her daughter's old bedroom. She finds comfort in color, in creation, in the act of making something beautiful in the space where beauty once lived. She has battled breast cancer. She has kept going. Because what else do you do when the world takes your child and the system gives you nothing in return? There is no clean ending to this story, no last chapter, no verdict that brought peace, no justice that matched the crime. Juliana Reding came to California with a dream. She left behind only questions. A bungalow where a candle once burned near an open gas line, a phone that tried to dial for help, and a name spoken by those who loved her, like a prayer with nowhere to go. If you're listening to this in the dark tonight, remember her.
Don't miss the next terrifying tale. Subscribe to Hanuman Fear Files.